Today I'm going to give the demo class on Linux server administration. Remember, everybody will confuse Linux and Linux administration. Generally, you are going to pay the money for Linux. Most of the people I'm telling you, but they thought they learned the administration part. They can go for interview, but interview point of view, they will ask administration questions. So every institutes will confuse the students. So Linux 2500 rupees, 3000 rupees, 4000 rupees. But we are learning Linux complete in-depth system administration course. This is actual course of Linux. So many students will come, not only you or me, hundreds of people they are going to confuse. So Linux server administration, that is the course we are going to learn. I will start from the scratch onwards. The most widely used operating system is Windows. Remember, the most widely used operating system is Windows because Windows is a graphical user interface. Anybody they can easily understand, easy to learn, easy to work. In Windows, we have two types of operating systems are there: client OS and server OS. What is client, what is servers? First, we have to remember that point. Servers provides resources to clients. Clients access the resources from server. For example, our laptop, we have Windows 10 client, Windows 8, whatever it may be client. You can take your mobile is a client. You are getting resources from servers like YouTube, like Google Play Store, whatever it may be. So servers provides resources to clients. Clients access the resources from servers. Now we are going to learn server administration, but not on Windows server. We are going to learn on Linux server administration. Remember, Linux server administration. So Unix or Linux. Again, here some confusion will come. Somebody will come, I want to learn Unix commands. Somebody will come, I want to learn Linux. Both are same. Both are same. Linux is a flavor of Unix. So other Unix flavors are Oracle Solaris, IBM AIX Unix, HP Unix, Co Unix, like that we have. Before 2006, these are familiar, Solaris and AIX. But now Linux is more familiar because very low cost hardware also we can install. So Linux is a flavor of Unix, but Linux is a open source. So open source means anybody they can download the source kernel from internet. You can develop your own operating system. I can develop my own operating system. Like that in Linux we have number of flavors are there. Flavors of Linux: Red Hat Enterprise Linux, OEL Oracle Enterprise Linux, Ubuntu Linux servers, CentOS, Fedora Linux, SUSE Linux, Debian Linux, Kali Linux. Like that we have number of flavors are there. But out of these flavors, familiar flavors are Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Ubuntu Linux servers. Now we are going to learn Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But you can have one question here. We are going to learn Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But when I go for interview, that company using Ubuntu Linux server. Is it required to learn Ubuntu Linux? No need. Already just now I told you. All our Linux operating systems are only. Structure is same. concept is same, the way of the configurations are same, but some of the administrative commands will be different. Not all, some of the. Like, for example, we learn car driving on Maruti 800. 1 year you drive in the car. After 1 year you bought a Benz car. So again we are going to learn the driving? No. Already you know the driving. The features between Maruti 800 and Benz car, some slight differences will come. So to update that one, it will take 1 day or 2 days time depending upon your driving skills. So like that, in Linux also, if you learn any flavor of Linux, you can easily work on other flavors. Next, why the companies they are using Linux servers? Already I discussed you, we have Windows servers, graphical user interface. Anybody can easily understand, easy to learn, easy to work. But the companies, why they are using Linux servers? So Linux is a more secured operating system than Windows. Linux is a more secured operating system than Windows. To whom we are going to provide security? The valuable crores of rupees databases and applications we are going to run securely on Linux servers. Remember, the valuable crores of rupees databases, applications, web servers, big data analytics servers, machine learning servers, deep learning servers. So we are going to run securely on Linux. But how do you differentiate the security between Windows and Linux? You have to explain to anybody ask you a question. How do you differentiate the security between Windows and Linux? You can go for structure of Windows and Unix operating means Linux operating system. Structure of Windows hardware means you bought a laptop. Top of that kernel is nothing but OS. Windows kernel you installed. Top of that user is working. So we are working. This is structure of Windows. Now you can check the structure of Linux. Hardware, kernel, top of the kernel there is a security layer is there, that is shell. Top of that we have user application. So between the user and kernel there is a security layer. Shell is there. What is shell? Shell is the command interpreter. So whatever the commands we are going to give, the shell will read the commands and it send the instruction to kernel. This is a known command. If it is unknown command, there it will stop. So shell is the security layer in Linux. Shell will not allow you to run any unknown commands. Shell will not allow you to run any unknown programs. That is the reason viruses will not attack on Linux. So shell is the security layer. But in Windows, what user will tell, kernel will do. Because Windows operating system identify the files with extension names .exe, .dat, .bat, .mp3 like this. But there is no extension file names in Linux. Linux will not support extension file names. But how the Linux operating system identify the files? So this is the structure just now I showed you. Hardware, kernel, top of the kernel, security layer is there, architecture level, shell, top of that user is working. So shell will not allow you to run any unknown commands. Shell will not allow you to run any unknown programs. And Windows identify the files with extension names, but no extension file names in Linux. So these are the points we have to remember to explain anybody Why we are going to learn Linux? How the Linux operating system more secure than Windows? No extension file names in Linux. Linux identify the files with the type. Type means ASCII text file or normal file or database file, character special files, device files, piped files, socket files. Every operating system have different types of files. So Linux identify the files with the type and the mode of files. Mode means permissions. So for example, I created one user account Shiva. So I created one user account Shiva. So Shiva is logged into the server. He created one file Apple. File name is Apple. Touch is the command to create a file in Linux. Touch space file name Apple. So whenever the user created a file, by default the permissions will apply. Remember, by default the permissions will apply. So the permissions are divided into three portions. One is user. User means owner who created the file. Second one is owners group. Owners group means Shiva is a member of AWS group. In AWS, we have some other groups are there. So that group members having read-only permission. And the third portion goes to other groups like AWS, DevOps, team leaders, HR department, accounting department. So like that we have number of groups are there. Those are come under other groups. They have the read-only permissions. Now see, when you create a file, for example, you are a owner, you are having read write. Your group members having read only. Other group members also having read only. So when we are working with Linux, if you send a file to me, for example, I am your group member or other group members, we are who are having only read only permission. Only read only. But when we are working with Windows, if you send a file to me, I am having read write permission, modified permission, deleted permission. There is no file level permissions in Linux. Sorry, in Windows. There is a file level permissions in Linux. That much of security is there in Linux. That is the reason the valuable databases applications we are going to run securely on Linux operating system. Remember. So the most of the applications, databases, everything we are going to learn on Linux servers only. So that is the reason we are going to learn Linux server administration course. And next point, just a minute. So if you have a gap or if you are a fresher, with Linux server administration, if you want to learn any other courses to put into your resume to increase the resume weightage, you can go for AWS, Linux plus AWS, cloud computing, Linux plus DevOps, Linux plus VMware, Linux plus databases, Linux plus Big Data Hadoop, Linux plus VMware administration, IBM WebSphere, Linux plus enterprise applications. See, any advanced courses. So Linux administration strong skills are required. Remember, Linux administration strong skills are required. So first they will ask many questions on Linux. Then only they will ask the questions are. Then only they will ask the questions on Windows Server Administration. Remember, sorry, uh, whatever cloud computing, whatever it may be, they will ask the questions. So that is the reason. First, you must have the strong skills on hands-on skills on Linux server administration. Then we can think about other technologies. If you are already a Windows administrator, you have to learn Linux server administration course, and you can put the experience of Windows and Linux server administration. Like the different types, we can put the experience, but Linux server administration is must. Because so many people they are learning AWS plus DevOps, they will teach only Linux basics. They will go for interview. They will ask the in-depth questions on Linux. Again, they have to come back and they have to join Linux administration. Time is waste, money is waste, everything is waste. So first to go for parallelly Linux administration plus AWS or one by one. So depending upon your time, depending upon your requirement, so you can go for one by one or parallelly. But we should have strong skills on Linux server administration. Somebody they have interest on scripting side, Python, shell scripting, Java, PHP. But these people also Linux administration skills are required nowadays. Next, this course is divided into three parts. Already I told you, somebody they are going to give Linux 2000 rupees, 3000 rupees. What they will teach? Basics of Linux. Remember, they will teach only basics of Linux. So basics of Linux when they teach, so you can thought I learned Linux, but you are not learn Linux administration. Just you learn basics. That course including in our course Linux administration. So basics of Linux is nothing but creating the files and directories, copying the files and directories, removing the files and directories, renaming the files and directories, and linking files, simple filter commands, advanced filter commands, and some advanced file permissions. So all they will drag 20 days, 15 days, 20 days, 25 days. They will charge you 2300. But that is nothing. That is from wherever from internet also you can learn that one. So strong skills of Linux administration is very important. So before going to learn that Linux administration course, first I will teach you basics of Linux. 1 week. So after completion of these basics of Linux commands, we are going to start Linux administration strong skills. So the Linux administration course is also divided into two parts. One is standalone administration. Second one is network administration. So 80% of the interview questions they will ask from the standalone administration. Remember, 80% of the interview questions they will ask you standalone. Next part we are going to learn network administration. Total course is Linux administration. 35 to 40 days we have the duration. So basics of Linux plus standalone plus networking administration. So standalone administration. So installation of Linux OS, Generally, what is the operating system directory in Windows? Windows operating system directory C drive. Like in Linux, what is the operating system directory? Like in Windows, we have D drive, E drive, F drive. Like Linux, how it is the structure. So everything scratch onwards I will explain. So here what is the file system layout in Windows? What is the file system layout in Linux? So everything we are going to learn in our initial classes only. So before administration only I will explain you, because once we come into the administration classes already you must have some knowledge on Linux operating system structure. So I will provide that knowledge before here, before basics only I will provide. But after installation of Linux, how to create new partitions, how to format the partitions, how to mount the partitions. So disk management class, very important in Linux, because why we are using Linux? For managing the valuable databases and applications. For managing the valuable databases and applications, where the database stores on the disks. So managing the disks is very important. So in generally other institutes they will teach only 15 minutes, 20 minutes class. Just create partition, format and mount partition. But my class will take 2 days time. That much of in-depth I am going to explain the class. Linux disk management, because we are going to whatever the whenever my classes are going to be complete, so you should have put the experience of 3 plus or 4 years of real time experience you can put into resumes. That much of in depth we are going to learn each and every chapter. Next, booting process of Linux operating system. So how the Linux operating system boot, in how many phases it will boot, in each phase what will happen. Say every day you are powering on your Windows, it is booting. So from power on to login screen, what happens background? That is we have to explain in interview. While the Linux administration interview point of view, go for interview. This is 100% question. Explain the booting process of Linux OS. Like different run levels. The same concept in Windows is different modes. So whenever your Windows having no problem, by default every day you are boot into normal mode. Whenever your Windows having any problem, it will boot into safe mode. Like the same concept in Linux is run levels. So what are run levels? What are the different types of run levels? We are going to discuss in this class. Next, group management, managing the groups in Linux, creating, modifying, deleting, where the groups information stores, how to assign the password to groups, where the group passwords information stores. Like after disk management, very important chapter is user management, because as a Linux administrator you are going to manage hundreds of users, thousands of users. So managing the users, creating the users, assigning the home directories, password management of users, user monitoring commands, user modification commands, user quotas, like a big chapter this one also. So we are going to learn in this chapter user management and user quotas, and access control list and advanced file permissions, change ownership of a file, change groupship of a file. So these things we are going to learn. Next, swap management. Swap management means memory management. See, what is physical memory? What is swap memory? They will ask the question. Physical memory means RAM. So 4 GB RAM, 2 GB RAM, 6 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. But even the system will use some space from the disk as a memory is called swap memory in Linux. In Windows, virtual memory, you can see so many people they don't know who are the administrators, they know. See virtual memory. So some of the area in the hard disk that Windows uses as a RAM is called virtual memory. The same concept in Linux is swap memory. This memory, whenever we are using databases, automatically will be utilized. So as a Linux administrator, you can check the complete memory in the server, how to increase the swap memory in the servers, everything we are going to discuss here. Next, process management. So Windows, simply go to right click task manager. You can check which processes are running, Google Chrome, go to meeting, Microsoft Word, percentage of CPU, memory utilizations. So you are monitoring your resources. So I don't want to notepad, I can close. I don't want task manager, I can select task manager, I am closing, end task, simply done. Same concept in Linux we are going to do with the command prompt only. So that is process management we are going to discuss. And RPM, Red Hat Package Manager, how to manage the packages. See, operating system is nothing but a collection of packages. So how to install new packages, how to upgrade existing packages, how to remove the old packages. So everything we are going to learn here. Next, M server, online package manager. Nowadays everything is online. So automatically I have to update my server every day by day, day by day, day by day. So we have to set up M server, how to configure it. LVM, this is also command disk management. Here we are going to combine the multiple physical disks as a single logical device. For example, the maximum size of the disk available in the market is 2 terabyte. But your database administrator want you, I need 6 terabyte partition to install my database. But you are a Linux administrator, you call to the market, what is the disk size? 2 terabyte. So 2 terabyte maximum partition, you can create 2 terabyte only. But they are asking 6 terabyte. How it is possible? By taking the help of LVM, we can combine multiple disks as a single logical device by using LVM concept. Same like LVM, we have RAID levels, combining the physical disks as a single logical device. But in RAIDs, we can tell to the server how to write the data, sequential order, parallel order, mirroring, stripping with parity, different ways we can write the data. That is RAID levels. Next, backup and restore. What are the backup tools in Linux? Files and directories backups, disk to disk backup, entire file system backups. So everything we are going to learn. Scheduling jobs, automation of jobs. So 16 chapters here. See, there is no single word of network. Already I told you, 80% of the interview questions they will ask from this location only. Next, we are entering into the networking part. Here all are server configurations. Configuration of Linux OS in the network. How to set up telnet server, SSH server, FTP server, NFS server, Samba server, domain name service, DNS server, Apache web server, NIS server, DHCP server, Kickstart server. Total 11 servers here, 10 servers we have. So how to set up these servers we are going to learn. This entire course is nothing but a Linux administration. So we are going to learn in our classes from tomorrow onwards. So if anybody having any doubts, please ask me. Any doubts, please ask me. If you have any doubts regarding course, please ask me. Any doubts regarding the course?
No, sir, it's pretty clear enough.
Okay.
One question I have
Yeah.
regarding the link. Does the link change every day?
No,
Or
no. Up to 3 to 4 days,
yeah,
same link will.
because I have been registering every day to get the link. The last Thursday, Friday also I had to register.
Yeah, yeah. This link will be up to 3 to 4 days. It will. After that, once all the people pay the money, paid link will come.
Okay,
And then that will be 2 weeks, 3 weeks we are having.
okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Any out doubts? Aditya Kiran, Dhananjay Mishra, Edgondlo,
Yeah,
any doubt? Aditya Kiran, tell me.
yeah, nothing. Everything is clear. Thank you.
ఏడుకొండలు బాబు మావాడు పడుతున్నావా ఏడుకొండలు
No,
డౌట్స్
sir,
ఏమిటాడు
nothing.
మావాడమే లేదుగా
No, sir.
ఓకే సో టుమారో సేమ్ టైం సో ఫస్ట్ I will explain because everybody should know about the file systems because see every day if you don't know about the file systems you are working with file systems in Windows or any operating system like you can check C drive or D drive E drive so NTFS file system like we have disk based file systems network based file systems memory based file systems every day if you know or don't know we are working with file systems directly or indirectly we are working with the file systems but now we have to know we must know because we are going to learn server administration we should know about the file systems what are disk based file systems what are network based file systems what are memory based file systems because we are going to manage the servers so we need to work with file systems but general students purpose they know they don't know that is not a problem but as a Linux administrator we should know about the file systems because we are going to work with file systems we are going to set up some file systems that is the reason first I will give the knowledge on that disk based which are disk based what are the examples what are network based what are the examples what are memory based virtual file systems what are the examples what is file system then file system layout in Windows then file system layout in Linux so first I will give the complete knowledge then you can understand easily so whatever I am explaining in Linux formatting the file system into this formatting file system export the file system mount the file system then you can understand that knowledge but nobody will give that knowledge directly if you join today tomorrow onwards they will start installation part course will start but first I will give the ground knowledge so what are different types of file systems so after that what is structure of Windows file system layout what is the structure of Linux file system layout what is the partitioning scheme in Windows what is the partitioning schemes in Linux then while I am explaining the installation of Linux why I am giving that partitions you can easily understand blindly I will show you installation but you cannot and you can have background so many question marks that is the reason because I am having 20 years of experience so I know Windows server administration I teach Solaris IBM AX HP Unix Co Unix and Linux server administration VMware administration storage administration SAN DAS NAS SAN networks and AWS classes also I am now I stick with Linux plus AWS courses only so because so many Windows server administration somebody will ask VMware administration also but I don't have to time to take that classes I stick with Linux server administration courses 5 6 batches Linux 5 6 batches AWS depending upon my time the Linux and AWS now I am teaching okay if you have any doubts please ask me tomorrow I am going to explain you what are the different types of file systems. Then you can easily understand. While we are learning Linux administration course, I will ask you some questions. Is it disk based? Is it network based? So I will test your knowledge. You remembered or you forgetted about file systems, because initial only I am going to explain about the file systems. Okay, if there is any questions, please ask me. I'm going to end the session. Thank you for attending the demo class. Tomorrow, same time, we are going to continue the class. Thank you all.